You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Sunday the 9th of March, 2025. It is 78 days after the winter solstice. It is 11 days before the spring equinox. Overnight, the clocks changed to daylight savings time. By the French Republican calendar, it is the 19th day of Ventose, the day of the cerfeuil, the chervil. The sun rises today at 7:17 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:06 p.m. The sun sets today at 6:56 p.m. Civil twilight ends at 7:24 p.m. and nautical twilight ends at 7:55 p.m. The length of daytime today is 2 minutes 42 seconds longer than yesterday. The moon is in its waxing gibbous phase and is 80% full at midday. The full moon will arrive on Friday, the 14th of March. These are the predicted tides today for Horn's Hook. In the morning, high tide, 8:41 a.m., 1 meter 31. In the afternoon, low tide, 3:15 p.m., 3 centimeters. At night, high tide, 9:21 p.m., 1 meter 22. In our shared realm of plants and animals, this week, backyard gardeners all over this corner of Long Island have been venturing out to see what plants have survived the winter. Peeling under the dead leaves from last year, one can see lupins are just beginning to put out their round, fan-shaped leaves. Mint lies quiescent, playing dead for now. Some oreganos have bit the dust, while others are just beginning to show their new green shoots. Commemorations. On this day in 1776, Adam Smith published his work, The Wealth of Nations. It revolutionized the way we examine the workings of our industrialized economies. On this day in 1841, the Supreme Court issued its ruling in the case of the United States versus the Amistad. A slave ship had left Havana with 53 enslaved Africans on board. The Africans rebelled and took control of the ship, which was then intercepted by the American ship Washington off Long Island. The Supreme Court ruled that the Africans aboard had been wrongly enslaved and were free. We should not forget that the court could have ruled in favor of the enslavers at that time, according to the laws then in place. A somber anniversary. On this day in 1945, the firebombing of Tokyo began. It was the single deadliest air raid of World War II. On this day in 1954, Edward R. Murrow anchored an episode of the program See It Now on CBS. Using footage of Senator Joseph McCarthy, Murrow held him to account for his abuses of power during the Red Scare. Murrow said, "No one familiar with the history of his country can deny that congressional committees are useful. It is necessary to investigate before legislating. But the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one, and the junior senator from Wisconsin has stepped over it repeatedly." It was the beginning of the end for McCarthyism. On this day in 1959, the Barbie doll was introduced at the American International Toy Fair in New York. On this day in 1962, Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser declared that Gaza belonged to Palestinians. Egypt had controlled the territory since the division of Palestine in 1948. And on this day in 1934, Yuri Gagarin was born in Klushino, Russia. The cosmonaut was the first human to travel to outer space. And that is the Observatory, Sunday the 9th of March, 2025.